Good morning. This is John from the Springs Mennonite Church, and I'm happy to be here with you the latter part of the week where I'm just talking about random scriptures and thoughts. And today I want to talk about the book of Lamentations. Lamentations is a small book written by Jeremiah the prophet. Let me read to you a little bit of what the summary of the book says. The book of Lamentations is a book about anguish, heart cries, painful poems, and volatile feelings about God and his people. The prophet Jeremiah is not afraid to describe these deepest of human emotions. He loves his people, but can already see their coming destruction. Like so many Old Testament books, happy stories are short in supply here. Jeremiah tells us about the destruction of Jerusalem by the Babylonians, the sin of Israel, and the reality of their hardened hearts. But yet, in the midst of this, there are little nuggets that are there intended to help us in the midst of these moments. Now, I don't know whether your world is in the midst of destruction or not. Most of the people I know aren't there. Their lives are pretty much routine and as at least somewhat expected. But every once in a while, like a friend of mine who wasn't sick, seemed everything to be fine, all of a sudden became sick and then got sicker and sicker and sicker and reached a point where didn't really know whether the person was going to live or not. And for that person and the family around, life suddenly became very anguished and very troublesome. And perhaps you are at some place somewhat similar. And I think that if you are, here is a good word to think about for today. Lamentations chapter 3, beginning with 25 and verse 26. It says this: The Lord is good to those who depend on him, to those who search for him. So it is good to wait quietly for salvation from the Lord. Well, the passage says there are two kinds of people for whom the Lord is good. The first one is for those who depend on him. And the second is for those who search for him. Now let's take a look at those for a moment. What does it mean to depend on God? Well, it doesn't mean to be lackadaisical and expect God to pick up the pieces. It doesn't mean that you don't have abilities and capabilities. But it does mean that I'm dependent on God because I understand that everything I have, everything I can do, ultimately comes from him. He gave me the mind that I have, the skills that I have, the life that I have, in order to recognize him and to praise him. So we should be recognizing our dependency on God because we all are there, whether we really want to admit it or not. And then, secondly, it says that he is there for those who search for him. Now, that's a crazy kind of a dichotomy here because, on the one hand, you think about searching for something that isn't there. On the other hand, many scriptures tell us that God is always here. So, how do you search for God in the context of this passage? What does it mean? Well, it means to look for God's hand at work in everything that we do and everything we see, to keep an eye out for the small stuff that reminds us of the power and grace and compassion of God. I I spend a lot of my time looking. I look at people. I look at things I need for my work. I look at the scenery around me. And I don't just look for those things. I look for what is God doing in the midst of those things. Why? Well, I guess because I know I depend on Him. And I know that while I'm searching, He's right here. I learn more about Him. And in times of anguish, the more we can learn about God, the better off the situation's going to be. Now, the second part of this that I read, which is really interesting, it says, so it is good to wait quietly for salvation from the Lord. Now, you might think that means eternal salvation, life after death. And I think it probably does mean that, but it also means something else. It's good to wait quietly, and I'll phrase it this way, to see how God is going to work. Now, I don't know if you're a good waiter or not. Some people can't wait for anything. I mean, they're even beeping their horns before the red light turns green. They don't want a second wasted. Excuse me. And sometimes my wife gets like that, and she'll say, "It's green, John." And I'm thinking, I know it is. I just didn't rush at it. Now, for me, I'm a pretty good waiter. Not always, but pretty good. And part of the reason of that is because I spent so much time in Latin America. And I assure you, in Latin America, nothing works fast. If you want it to work fast, you're going to be disappointed. And so many times, I would just have to sit and be patient and wait. Now, my wife is not a very good sitter and waiter. She's got to get doing something. And to a large degree, I'm like that. But I know there are times when all I can do is sit and wait and see what God does. And the truth of the matter is, even if I didn't sit and wait, I couldn't make it happen any faster. I've got nothing to lose by waiting on God. Now, if I'm searching for Him and if I'm dependent on Him, then I know that He is going to overcome the situation, whatever that is, for whomever needs it, which includes me and you. So think about it today. I hope you have a great day. If there's anything we can do here to help out, please call us or let us know somehow. We'll do anything we can do as fast as we can do it if you just let us know. Till tomorrow, hope you have a great rest of the day. God bless you. I'll talk to you again.